All right. Hello, everyone. What is going on? And welcome in to the tristatefootball.com preview show playoff edition. It is week 12 here in the tri state area. We have postseason action going on all around the tri state area, Southwest Ohio, Eastern Indiana, and Northern Kentucky. Again, we thank you so much for listening. My name is Safwan Alvi, and I am joined by Greg Shoemaker, the man, the myth, the legend, the shuru, the guru. Greg, my man, it is always great to see you because now we are talking playoff action all over the tri-state area. But tonight's show, Greg, as we get ready for Friday's kickoff, right? It's walkthrough Wednesday. Kickoff is just about 48 hours away. I'm excited for it. I want to talk a little bit about the Hoosier State, right? Sometimes we talk about it, sometimes we talk a little bit less, but I want to lead off the show with it tonight, right? Because it is sectional final weekend over there in the Hoosier State. Because remember, for those of you listening, Indiana starts a week earlier than Southwest Ohio in terms of playoffs, right? So when it was week 10 in Southwest Ohio, Eastern Indiana already started their playoffs. So they're already in sectional final weekend. And Greg, we have a lot of local teams, right, on that, Eastern Indiana border that are playing in different classes this weekend. Let's start right off with the Class 5A matchup. East Central, right, the reigning defending Class 4A state champions for back-to-back years. They are now in Class 5A, 7-3 on the year. But Greg, no matter what happened with this East Central team, head coach Jake Miners, he has them back again playing in the sectional finals, even with the Class A upgrade.
Yeah, how about that stuff? I mean, it's been a great road for the Trojans. They've been fantastic all season long, considering everything they lost. I think Jake Miners has done an amazing job with the squad. So to be playing for your fourth consecutive regional or sectional championship, that's good stuff. I mean, that's what more could you ask if you're Jake Miners? I mean, they've been fantastic.
Yeah, again, that is they are looking for their 23rd in school history. And Greg, talk to me about this game real quick. What do you think that the keys to success are, right? Because the schedule gets a little bit harder now that they are playing in a harder class. You think East Central has a good chance to get another sectional championship?
I do. Franklin's 4-6 on the season. This is a team, East Central, that they played a very, very good schedule, and I don't think anything that Franklin throws at them that they're going to be in awe of for sure. So they're going to run the ball with Ryan Mingus. That's what they do. That's what they do best. And I see this as like a normal, typical EC game. Great defense and a lot of running the football.
Absolutely right. No matter where they go, Class 4A, 5A, you always got to remember what East Central is, right? They are two-time state champions coming off that historic run, and they are right back making a deep playoff run the next year. Big shout out to East Central. All right, Greg, I want to go down to Class 3A Sectional 30, right? The crown is on the line with the Lawrenceburg Tigers coming in at 10-1. They are going to Batesville coming in at 7-3, right? They played earlier this year, right back in week 6, where Lawrenceburg beat Batesville 24-0. And Greg, we kind of know the story with Lawrenceburg, right? You go into week 1, right? You start the season off taking a tough loss to East Central, right? It's happening year in and year out. You take that tough loss, but they just come back better, stronger, faster, and they go on these winning streaks, which makes them incredibly dangerous come playoff time. And Greg, we are seeing that yet again. This Lawrenceburg team is firing on all cylinders.
They really are, and this is a team that defensively they've really stepped it up. They've held 8 of their opponents to 8 points or less this year, and everybody else. South Dearborn had 14 against them. Franklin County had 27 against them, and East Central had 24. But nobody scored more than that, and they're playing so good right now defensively. It's funny because every year they lose that opener to East Central, and then they go on these wild, long winning streaks, and they've won 10 in a row after losing the opener to East Central for the 5th time in the last 6 years and 6th time in the last 8 years that's happened. So, man, Ryan Kaniga does a great job getting this team ready, and I just like what they have. Batesville's been hurt, and some of their key players are down, and I just think that there's too much on the Lawrenceburg side of things, and Crew Gilmore's playing really good, the sophomore at quarterback right now. Noah Kaniga, their fine defensive end / linebacker, who's off to Eastern Michigan. He's having a heck of a season. A lot of tackles for losses, and just dominating force on that side of the ball for sure.
Yeah, Greg, and with this Lawrenceburg team, they're looking for their 7th sectional title, right, in their last 9 years.
Mm.
What I want to talk about is kind of going forward, right? We know they get to this point and they can win with this point. Is this Lawrenceburg team good enough to really win a couple more, games and make it to Lucas Oil, right? That's the biggest question with Lawrenceburg. We know they're going to get here, right? But can they win a couple more games and really make a run at the state championship game?
Absolutely, they can, and because they play such good defense,
Yep.
and they've got kids that have been there before. Kaniga's been there as a starter, and some of these other kids have been around as 3-year starters last time they went. And I think this team has all the potential to get there. Like I said, they played a lot of football, and they're not in awe of anything they see because they know they play East Central every year, and that's you play a state champion like that every year. You know what it takes to be a state champion.
Absolutely. Again, Lawrenceburg and Batesville for the Class 3A Sectional 30 crown happening in just about 48 hours. Best of luck to both teams there. And Greg, there's one more game I want to get to in the Hoosier State before we move it over to Southwest Ohio. How about Milan and North Decatur, right? Milan is going to host North Decatur. Milan at 7-4 on the year. North Decatur 10-1 on the year. This is for the Class 1A Sectional 47th title. Okay, Greg, talk to me about these two teams, both of them having really good years, feeling good about being in the sectional championship game. What are we looking for in this matchup?
Yeah, this has been the North Decatur Invitational over the last 5 years. They've won the sectional 5 times in the last 6 years, and every year, Safwan, they have knocked Milan out of the playoffs. So Milan would like nothing more than to knock these guys out for the first time in 7 years and get that elusive sectional title that they've won a handful of them in the past, but it's been a long time, or it's been a while since they have. So I think Ryan Langfordman and his guys they're going to give them a tough game. Milan, I just like what Milan does, but North Decatur's been really, really good over the past 5-6 years. So we'll see. This is going to be a really fun game to keep an eye on Friday night.
Yeah, Greg, this is another experience of, been there, done that, right? 5-6 years in a row. So the sophomores, they have this experience, right? The juniors have experience. This is where you rely and you lean on those guys, the sophomores, not the juniors and the seniors, right? They've been there, done that. This is where you lean on them to get that sectional title victory.
Absolutely. But again, Milan's got a good little ball club, and I think that, they got the avenge factor, they've got the chip on their shoulder. So let's see if they have enough to get past North Decatur and the Chargers here on Friday night.
Absolutely. A lot of fun things happening in the Hoosier State. Again, sectional titles are on the line over there in Eastern Indiana. And all right, Greg, before we move on to the Southwest Ohio part, right, we got a lot of great matchups here. Just a reminder, you guys can follow us on our social media platforms, right? The venue formerly known as Twitter and Instagram at TS Football. Again, that's at TS Football. You can also like us on YouTube and like us on Facebook. Again, tristatefootball.com. And again, you can watch all of our videos, our coaches' interviews, and everything that has to do with tristatefootball.com. All right, Greg, it's time to talk some Southwest Ohio playoff football, right? Second round action. A lot of things that we expected, that we talked about right here last week happened in Southwest Ohio, right? The top 8 seeds, right, in Division I, in Division II, they all won and made it to the second round, right? Division I, Region 4, and Division II, Region 8, to be specific. The main dogs, the big dogs, as we should say, they got the job done. And now it's time for some heavy-hitting matchups. Greg, we're talking blue bloods playing each other from all over the tri-state area. It's going to be a very, very fun weekend. But I want to start off with a GMC rematch, right? The 5th seeded Hamilton Big Blue taking on the Princeton Vikings. They come in at the 4th seed. Princeton will be hosting this game. And Greg, there is a lot of bad blood coming into this game because they played earlier on in the season, and maybe one of the shocks of the year, maybe not because of the result, because of the way the result happened when Hamilton went in and absolutely shellacked Princeton earlier in the year. I believe it was 34-0. Mm-hmm. But now, Greg, at home, Princeton gets a chance to take revenge and have the last laugh. This is a really exciting GMC playoff matchup.
Well, I mean, this is the time to put up or shut up with your Princeton. I mean, we've been waiting all year for them to play this one game and get back to where they think they should be, and that'd be in a regional finals. But man, I mean, Grayson Goldsmith at Hamilton, he's run for 150 yards or more in each of the last 6 games. He's got 20 touchdowns rushing in that span. And they're playing with a lot of confidence. The Big Blue is, and Arby's got those guys just really, really set up nicely here. And I'm going to tell you what, I wouldn't be surprised if Arby turns the table on this and says, "Hey, even though we won that game 34-0, we're still the underdogs because we're going to be at Princeton on Friday night." And Hamilton's never gotten past this far in the tournament, so this is a big day for those guys. And they're setting all kinds of records for wins. Mathis, the quarterbacks, now got the most wins by a starting quarterback in Hamilton history. So I think they got more to prove and more they want to accomplish. But again, we've been waiting on Princeton to finally rise from the ashes in their own little weird way. But this is one of the best games of the weekend for sure.
Yeah, there's a lot to prove for Hamilton, right? Again, you just mentioned they haven't been past this round. They're one of the hottest teams in the tri-state area, right? The Princeton Vikings, it's time to see if they can really take that next step. And Greg, before we move on, I know there's a defensive player that you love over there on Hamilton, right? His name is Trey Verdon, right? If that's a familiar name. His brother also played. I believe he's at Iowa State now playing really well. I know you really love this kid. He's a first-team all-GMC type of player.
Yeah, he may be a finalist for the Tri-State Football Defensive Player of the Year, too.
Wow.
I mean, he's had 9 sacks in the last 6 games. He's had 3 forced fumbles, 3 fumble recoveries in that time period. He's just playing lights out. He was hurt earlier in the year, but he's come back. And I'm not sure. I don't know if he was in the game. I think he might have been in this game the first time they played, but it was one of the first ones he was back, if so. So, yeah, I mean, he's a great cornerstone. And then, you got a cornerstone piece over in Princeton and PJ Nelson, their fine defensive linebacker. And, he's had a heck of a career, 55 career tackles for losses, 21 sacks in his career. And he's just been a great player. Very good. This is going to be a good football game.
Yeah, cannot wait for that game over at Princeton, a GMC matchup for the second round of the playoffs. All right, Greg, now we're going to talk teams from 2 different conferences. And at this time last year, they were in 2 different divisions, right? Division 1, Region 4, the St. Xavier Bombers taking on the Whitten Woods Warriors, right? Number 6 versus number 3. This game is going to be at Whitten Woods because they are the 3rd seed, coming in at 10-1 on the year. Greg, when talking about blue bloods, it does not get much better than this. Again, remember, Whitten Woods has taken that step. They were in Division 2 Region 8, and now they are in Division 1 Region 4. And what a way to get the playoffs rolling, Greg. This is going to be an exciting matchup. We know these 2 teams play excellent on defense. We know they're well coached with Coach Murphy from Whitten Woods and then Coach Steve Speck from St. X. Greg, talk to me about what you are looking for in this blue blood heavy hitting matchup.
Well, I mean, X is playing their best football of the year on offense as of late. So I look for them to continue that. They got a 4-game winning streak. They've had 3 shutouts in that time period, a 31-point margin of victory in that span. They've outscored their last 2 opponents 103-0. Wow. And because of that, in those 2 games, something really interesting has happened that 10 different St. Xavier players have found the end zone in the last 2 weeks. And that's big at this time of year because everybody's growing confidence, and that's just what you want there. Now, Whitten Woods has only given up 80 points on the year. They got their 4th shutout of the year last week, and that's a school record for a season. They just don't give up points, and they score points defensively. They got 7 defensive touchdowns this year. So this is going to be a really good slobber knocker of a game. And when Whitten Woods went up to D1 before the season started, this is all we could talk about. Who are they going to match up with in the playoffs? Now they got a St. X. The winner of this, in all likelihood, gets Lakota West. So, it's going to be a fun couple of weeks in Division 1, Region 4 for sure.
Absolutely, Greg. And again, I guess I'm a little bit playing devil's advocate here, but we know with St. X, right? Last year they played a beat-up Milford team, right? We know they're well coached, but they were beat up. It was kind of a mismatch. And then I think the last week of the season they played, I think that Christian Brothers Academy, that was a small school, right? That's not a team that's really going to match up for you. Again, I love St. X. I love what they're doing. But this is really going to be a much better kind of litmus test because we are in the second week of the playoffs, right? You win or go home, because this is by far and away, outside of Moeller, right, in Lakota West, which happened a long time ago at this point, this is the best team they've played in well over a month and a half at this point.
Yeah, I think you're right on that. And it's sort of Princeton's the same way. They're on a 5-game winning streak, but they didn't beat anybody at all coming into this Hamilton game. Since that loss to Hamilton, all 5 teams they played were sub 500 or under 500. But Yeah, I mean, St. X has got a. I just like the way they're playing, but again, man, Isaiah Garrett's had his best 2 games running the football for Winton Woods the last 2 weeks. They were a little banged up in the backfield, but if you can just continue to give Garrett the ball, they're gonna be in this thing. And again, like I said, their defense is so opportunistic, and they're very very they've been through the battles. They played a lot of football. And this is the think the 13th game in the playoffs for these seniors for Winton Woods. You know,
Yep.
they won the state championship that their freshman year, and they know how to win. They've had an extra season of playoff games under their belt. That's huge.
Yeah, this is going to be such an exciting game. And Greg, if we know there's one coach you're not counting out of the playoffs, it's head coach Steve Speck, right?
Absolutely.
That's one coach you are not counting out when it comes to November football. All right, Greg, real quick. I know this may not be on our schedule, but just real quick, give me the update and give me the rundown of that Elder versus Lakota West game, right? Because if we're talking blue bloods and we're talking names and we're talking coaches and we're talking, recognizable figures, this game has it. So what are you looking for in that Lakota West Elder game that's going to be at Lakota West?
So firepower is a big thing in this one. I mean, West is putting up points like nobody's tomorrow. And if they do, they get out in front in this game early on, it's going to be tough for Elder because they're just not equipped to put a lot of points on the board in a hurry. I mean, they just don't have that kind of explosiveness that West has. So I like West in this one. I think they're on a mission too because they've lost the last 4 regional championships, 3 of them to Moeller. Um, I just think that they're on a quest. Sam Wiles is playing as good as anybody, and uh, it's a very good football team. I can't wait to see what this one entails because the next few weeks, if West gets by it, are going to be so fun to watch them.
Absolutely. They're going to flex their muscles, and we already know how great and amazing West is on defense, right? Which always carries them. And now having an offense that goes with it, very,
Mm-hmm.
very dangerous. All right, Greg, we are going to move down to Division 2, Region 8, because we have some really fun matchups going on in here. How about 7th-ranked Kings coming in at 9-2 versus number 2, LaSalle? Right, these are two teams playing some excellent football. LaSalle has, some really good wins on the resume, a really tough schedule going into the playoffs. So, the Lancers are going to be playing well. There's a lot to like about this Lancers team because, Greg, it looks like they finally found some offense, right? The Lancers are scoring a lot of points, and that makes them as dangerous as anybody in Division 2.
It really does, and this is a fun game because the Kings' defense is playing lights out. They've had 4 shutouts in their last 5 games, and they're good against the run. I think that's a lot of people don't realize that. But as good as Anderson is in that ECC, and as good as Winton Woods has been, maybe a notch below him. But Kings has played some very very good football on both sides of the line for sure.
Yeah, Greg, these two teams, they kind of remind me of each other in their conference, right? LaSalle, they may not be the big dogs of the GCL South, right? Kings may not be the absolute big dogs of the ECC, right? Winton Woods and Anderson, Moeller versus St. X. But these are two teams year in and year out, right? They're well coached. They play good defense. They get hot at the right times. They're teams that have made runs, as of recently. These are two teams you just do not want to run into come late of the regular season into the playoffs. They're kind of almost mirrors of each other in different ways. This is going to be a really fun matchup.
Oh, I think so. And it's two teams that aren't familiar with each other, so I think that makes it even more fun. I don't think the Kings kids have ever played at LaSalle, so it's going to be a fun night for them as well, just to get into that GCL South sort of atmosphere, which will be there over at Schott Stadium. So this is going to be, yeah. I mean, this is one of those games. I do think this will be a low scoring game as well. Playoff football is a little bit different, and these two teams can play some defense, so that's going to be the best part about this football game.
All right, going to be a very fun game. And again, that is going to be at LaSalle, right? Kings is going to LaSalle in that Division 2 Region 8 game. And the next game I want to go to, Greg, I believe this is Division 3 Region 12. Correct me if I'm wrong. We're looking at Mount Healthy versus Baden, right?
Division 2. Both these two teams moved up. Yeah.
Okay, that's right, because I was so
Remember,
used
they
to Baden
both
being
moved
Division
up.
3. Yes, my apologies. Baden versus Mount Healthy is now a Division 2 matchup, right? This is also in Region 8, right? Mount Healthy comes in as the 5th seed. Baden comes in as the 4th seed. So Baden will be hosting this game. It will be a playoff game for the Rams. And Greg, this is a kind of one side of the ball versus the other, right? Offensively for Mount Healthy, they got Jameer Spain, right? We love him as a quarterback. He's a gunslinger, can throw the ball anywhere versus that Baden Rams defense, right? That's been the heart and soul of their team for about 4 or 5 years now, even more than that. Two good, units colliding with that Mount Healthy offense, that Baden defense. This is going to be a fun game to watch.
So the one thing I like about this game, Saquon, is Baden's. They've won 9 in a row, but they played 5 of those games have been within 6 points or 7 points. So they win. They win close games, and man, they did it again last week. They did it in the finals the week before against McNick. So they played McNick, and then last week they played a very good Trotwood Madison team. So they're not going to be in awe of the athleticism that Mount Healthy puts on the field. But boy, I mean, if Spain can throw some deep balls to Ace Cooper, who's averaging 28 yards a catch with 18 touchdowns on 43 receptions, I mean, if they can get him and that combination going, that's going to loosen up things for the run game. And they had a kid last week who had a career high with 170 yards, a senior. I think his name was Stewart. Yeah, I mean, this is going to be an interesting game because two different contrasting styles, which makes this one fun. And I just really like Baden just because they win close games, and their seniors are 13-3 in the playoffs since their freshman year. So another team that's been battle tested in playoffs over the years.
Absolutely. And when talking about this Mount Healthy team, Greg, especially now as we're getting deep in the playoffs, the stars are going to have to be stars, right? When some of these other teams are talking about, Baden and some of the Division 1, Division 2, they're so well-rounded, right? There could be 6, 7 different guys who give them quality, even spectacular games. From Mount Healthy, right, Jameer Spain and Ace Cooper, those two guys are going to have to really carry them. Spain is going to have to be Superman more often than not, which he's capable of doing, right? I think that's why Mount Healthy can stay in this game. He's such an electrifying quarterback, but the superstars of Mount Healthy, they are going to have to play extraordinarily well in this game.
Yeah, I mean, Scott Kid too. Jamar Scott is also going to have to play very, very well. And I think if Ace Cooper gets off a little bit at wide receiver, that'll open up things for Scott, and that'll make this a very difficult team. The Owls will be a difficult team to match up against on the outside if they can start finding a way to stretch the field vertically.
Absolutely. This is going to be one of the more interesting games in Division 2, Region 8. And now, Greg, I want to jump over to Division 3, Region 12, right? The 6th-seeded ranked McNick, they are going to Bellbrook, right? McNick coming in with a 9-2 record on the year. Bellbrook coming in with a 10-1 record. And Greg, when talking about teams in this Ohio area, right, they're a little bit more northern Ohio, but in the area, there's not many teams hotter than Bellbrook is right now.
10 wins in a row. But here's the thing about they played really well for Jeff Jenkins over the years, but they get down there and they're in that SWBL. And when they get into the playoffs, they have a hard time with these teams from Cincinnati and Hamilton. They've lost 2 of their last 3 times in the playoffs have been to GCL co-ed teams. And I think another 2 times they've lost to Ross in the playoffs. So have a harder time against these teams. And it's going to be interesting because this is about as good of a defensive Bellbrook team as we've seen in a long time.
And Greg, just kind of going a little bit deeper into that, why do you think that is? Is it because of the physicality that maybe Cincinnati teams offer down here? Because we know Ross, that was a running team, right? They really struggled with Ross a couple of the running the football. You think it's a physicality difference that the Cincinnati teams right in Southwest Ohio give them that teams up north maybe don't or not as much?
Yeah, I absolutely do. And I don't think the league is bad in any regards. I just think that when you get to this round of the playoffs, when you only have 8 teams left in Region 12 and all the regions for that matters, it gets tougher. And I think that's the thing. And there is a drive that these other teams have had that are playing them or Bellbrook. And I just, I mean, it's just bad matchups for them on paper. And this could be one of those games. This could not be. I mean, this could be one of those games where McNick, much like Baden, they play a lot of close games, but they win close games. So it's going to be more than entertaining, to say the least, to see how both of these teams handle really good competition.
Yeah, that Bellbrook team looking to get that monkey off the back, right? That's the Cincinnati teams. They're really looking to get their hot, right? So it is a good time for Bellbrook to do that. Again, that's Division 3, Region 12. McNick going to Bellbrook in that game right there. Greg, I want to jump over to Division 4, Region 16. Right, we got some teams here that we both really like. We're talking number 8, Indian Hill, the 8th seed, going to number 1, Clinton Massey. Right, there's so many good players to like in this game. Indian Hill's sophomore running back, right? I repeat, sophomore, because he still has multiple years in high school left. What a superstar he's been. And then we're talking about Clinton Massey. Been there, done that. when it comes to November football, this is a team in Division 4 you do not want to run up against. We saw them beat Batavia a couple weeks ago, right, when Batavia was on their hot streak, but Clinton Massey dominated that game. Greg, Coach McSorley, and those boys up there in Clinton Massey, they just know when to turn it on. It's kind of like a light switch, right? In those last couple weeks of the season, they just turn it on, and yet again, the number 1 seed, no surprise there.
Yeah, this team runs the football 288 yards per game. They got 5 guys with at least 300 yards rushing, so they spread the wealth, there's no doubt, and they are going to play smash mouth football up front. And Massey's a team that's been there, done that. It's been a while since Indian Hill's gotten a decent run in the playoffs, but Massey knows how to win in these situations. And dude, I'm going to tell you what, outside of Division 1, Region 4, Division 4, Region 16 is just so fun. It's always so loaded.
Yes.
You got Alter and you got, Wyoming. Yeah, the other team was Wyoming and Indian Hill and Clinton Massey. It's just a fun region for sure. And this game could be over in an hour and 20 minutes. This is going to be a fast game. Both teams, they both run the ball. They just run it in a little different style. So, but man, Devlin Daniels is a heck of a player. He's also one of the best players in his age group in the state of Ohio. So, a talented athlete. And we'll have John Rodenberg on and talking about him in the pregame show about how wonderful this young man is and leads by example. So I can't wait. We got 2 more years of him after this year. It's going to be fun to follow him.
Yeah, Greg, and let's be honest, like Indian Hill's best chance, it's going to be on his back, right? Devlin Daniel he's going to get 25, 30 carries. Like you said, this game is going to go quick. There's not going to be a lot of passing. There's going to be a lot of running. It's going to be back and forth. So every single first down is at a premium, right? Every single rush is at a premium, trying to get ahead of the sticks, right? 2nd and 5, 3rd and 3, 3rd and 2, trying to get those first downs. It's going to be a really fun game. And again, Clinton Massey, been there, done that. Just a really exciting team to follow as we go through the playoffs. Again, that's Division 4, Region 16. Greg, and there is one more game over there in Division 4, Region 16. One of the feel-good stories of the year. How about Taylor? Right, Taylor coming in at 9-2 on the year. They're taking on Valley View, also 9-2 on the year. Again, that game is going to be at Valley View. We are very familiar with this Valley View team, Greg. Right, they're one of the powerhouses in Division 4. They play very well. It's a well-coached team. They play defense. They're one of the mainstays, kind of like Wyoming is, right? They're making playoff runs every year. They're one of the powerhouse programs. This is going to be a really fun game to watch. And Taylor, as awesome as a story they've been, they got their work cut out for them this week.
Yeah, I mean, Matt King does a great job at Valley View, the young head coach up there. And, they lose Caden Henson, probably one of the most productive players in the entire state last year, the quarterback at Valley View. And they move up from Division 5, Region 20, where they've won the last 2 regional championships, to Division 4, Region 16, and haven't missed a beat. They're very good. Caesar Berryman's the Swabble Player of the Year in that division that they're in, a heck of an outside rush guy. And I think the firepower in the end in this one is just going to be too much from Valley View. I really just like where they go. They're just so well coached. Matt does a great job.
Yeah, and remember, they just won their 2nd ever playoff game last
crazy.
Friday night, right? So we love that for Taylor, but Greg, is it also a little bit of shell shock maybe coming to them? Like, this is where the big boys are, right? This is Valley View. We're talking Wyoming, these type of schools. Taylor's going to have to really experience that maybe before they can take the next step. We love what they're doing, right? They've have an awesome year, but now it's time to really, play with the big boys, the guys who have been running this division for a lot of years.
Well, the good news is they won that game on the road last week, that playoff win. So that's a big help. Valley View, Germantown's not an easy place to play. The town shuts down. It's all about the Spartans on Friday nights in Germantown. So it's going to be a tough place, but look, man, David Dransman's done a good job with this Taylor team. And I think they're still another year away from putting together another good run. So they're young and they're fun, and it's going to be, it's just fun watching their progress.
Yeah, we can absolutely agree that Taylor has a very bright future as well, right? These next couple of years, they're going to be a very good team and fun to continue to watch. Again, that is at Valley View, again, in Division 4, Region 16. Greg, one last game I want to get to before we get out of here is Division 5, Region 20. All right, how about Madeira? All right, Greg, those Mustangs going to number 3, Waynesville. Madeira coming in with just a 6-5 record. They are going to Waynesville with a 9-2 record with a big win last week. And Greg, I think one of the themes of today is the CHL. right? They did a
Yeah,
very
there
good
you go.
job in the first round of the playoffs, right? Wyoming got the win, Indian Hill got the win, Madeira got the win. These teams are
Taylor.
playing really well, right? Taylor got the win. We just talked about them. The CHL had a very good first round of the playoffs, and Madeira, their record maybe didn't show for it, but they came ready to play in that first game, and they got the win. Big
Hey,
shout out to
you
those
go
all.
on a road, you go on a road and knock off a 9-1 Williamsburg team at Williamsburg, 28-6. I mean, it was
Convincingly. Yep.
very convincing win. So Chris Stewart's doing a good job with this Madeira team. Aiden Hopewell, their wide receiver, 78 receptions, over 100 or 1,000 yards receiving, and 13 touchdown catches. Excellent player. He's going to Marion University over in Indianapolis. That's where he's going to continue to play. It's going to be a tough game. There's no doubt about it for Madeira, but one of the great upsets last week in all of the local areas was that win for them at Williamsburg.
Yeah, and Greg, Waynesville, they got a superstar of their own, right? Garrett Lundy, right? He's an athlete, right? He's a kick returner, right? He returns the ball, he rushes the ball. He's one of the true superstar athletes in the tri-state area.
Workhorse, 5'6", 5'7", 160 pounds. Doesn't come off the field. He leads the team in tackles as well with 91, 1,000 yards receiving, 1,000 yards rushing. And he's just been great. But, Safwan, I've been doing all the nominations for the all-district teams, which we'll vote on tomorrow.
Yep.
So many coaches are enamored with Waynesville's quarterback, Alex Ambergy, who had a great year as well, over 2,000 yards passing, and just amazing season. But so many coaches just love him as much as they love Lundy. So going to be an interesting football game for sure. I like Waynesville in this game because they had that run against or all the way to the regional championship and before they bowed out to Valley View, their league rival in that game last year. So I like them because they've been there and done that. And this group of seniors has been around for a while. We'll have Ben Johnson on in the pregame show of high school football tonight on Fox Sports 1360 and ESPN 1530. And it's his fourth year. And so all these seniors, this is his first full class at Waynesville. So I think they're going to play for him very, very extra hard the rest of the way out.
Yeah, again, we love talking small school action. Again, Division 5, Region 20, Madeira Mustangs taking on Waynesville. And all right, Greg, before we get out of here, just want to get some final thoughts, right? Some overall thoughts. We are in the playoffs everywhere, right? Northern Kentucky, Southwest Ohio, Eastern Indiana, right? All in different spots, but we are in the playoffs. Overall, talk to me about what you're thinking this weekend. What are you looking for? And just the excitement of playoff football.
Well, I think all the clean brackets are going to be gone in Division 1 and Division 2, Regions 4 and Region 8. A great week for the top seeds last week, but man, you never know what's going to happen. Keep your eyes on Moeller and Lakota East this weekend. JT Kitna, the quarterback, versus Matt Ponatowski, the cornerback at Moeller. Going to be a fun game, just because of the pureness of those two quarterbacks and the way they throw the football. So, but I do like Moeller in that one as well. I'm sort of pushing the envelope ahead a little bit in some of the matchups I want to see. But, again, there's still 48 minutes of football left on Friday night, and anything can happen. We know that, especially when you get this deep into the postseason.
Absolutely. Again, playoff football happening all around the tri-state area. And remember, you can get all the scores from Southwest Ohio, Eastern Indiana, and Northern Kentucky. Go to tristatefootball.com. You can go /scores, right? /scores at tristatefootball.com. You can get all the scores there. And Greg, you and I will be right back there Friday night after that St. X versus Witten Woods game, right, on ESPN 1530, Fox Sports 1360. And we will have all the breakdown. We're going to talk all the scores, all the action. I'm excited for that, Greg. Playoff football is here.
It definitely is a great time of year, and again, yeah, we whittled down the teams, but boy, the ones that continue to play on, they all are great stories, and they're in their own little rights. So it's fun to cover it.
Absolutely. So Greg and I will see you guys on Friday night. As always, we thank you guys for listening. Again, we'll be back next week to talk more playoff football. Again, tristatefootball.com /scores, and then at TS Football on Twitter and Instagram. You can catch us all there. So we will talk to you guys next week and on the radio. We appreciate you guys listening on the tristatefootball.com preview show.